Welcome to Get Set, an old girls entertainment podcast where we talk set life and stories as three women in the TV and film industry. In this episode, we discuss producing our first projects. We offer some advice and need-to-knows while offering up some of our experiences, including past mistakes and learning curves. So first of all, before we dive into the whole world, there's so much, the whole world that is producing. Maybe we should explain what a producer is, what is an executive producer, how are they different, just so we have this basis.
So first thing we'll talk about is that no project is exactly the same. For instance, if you're shooting a 2 to 3 page script that takes place with 2 characters in one room, it'll look totally different from a 10-page script or more that calls for animals, child actors, animation, a driving sequence with 6 actors. It's just going to be a completely different beast, both of them. They'll both have their ups and downs and different needs. Both projects are going to require some similar things, but the scale of each project will definitely be different and demand different things.
And knowing as a producer, the bulk of our time is spent finding the right people for those jobs. Yeah. So whether you want to be a producer or whether, everyone's going to work with a producer in this industry, I think it's really important that people are vocal about their skill set, because someone may need something for a short film that you don't have on your resume or you don't really talk to people about. But then they're like, oh yeah, I actually really need a lifeguard for this shoot,
and part of these, I think too, when we look at, we see big Hollywood producers and big Hollywood films, and there are kind of different producers. For instance, executive producers. Essentially, an executive producer is someone who either has the money and is bringing it to the table or is getting the money in some way. Producers are everyone else that's doing all the other things that you need. You need a lifeguard, but you also need to pay it. So they kind of go hand in hand. A lot of people, especially on a smaller scale, for your first projects, probably be doing a little bit of both. With bigger projects, you also get into associate producers and line producers. But just to keep things simple, we'll talk mainly about the ones and the twos, the executives and the other producers.
Yeah, so basically right now on every project, we've been both so far. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We've been executive producers because it's been, our projects that we're fronting the money for, or we have found the funding or gotten sponsors for these short films and projects that we've produced.
And they all require a certain skill set that I will say, people persons. People. I don't know.
People what?
Yeah, people person. You have to be a people person.
Oh yeah.
You gotta really
I was like a people person, people eater. What? Purple people.
Yeah. So you have to be that, because you have to kind of schmooze people in one way or another. For instance, if you're trying to use someone's house that's perfect, but you can't pay them. Or, you can pay them a little bit.
Especially when you're just starting out. Yeah. Being able to call in favors. But as a producer, when you're hiring people, being able to put, if you're borrowing if you're using a friend's house, you need to make sure that your crew isn't going to scuff up their floors, or that you have tarps, or that you have people who are responsible, who are going to show up on time and not abuse the person's time that you're using this location for. And that's for, right in the beginning. But
also comfortability on set with cast and crew and all that. You're kind of heading all of that. You're kind of setting the tone for the production.
Yeah. To me, a producer is if you're familiar with, other 9-to-5 or regular jobs, it's the closest thing to a manager, in my opinion. You really have your hands in every cookie jar. You're a part of casting. You're a part of hiring crew. You're a part of hiring crafty. You're a part of, you set the budget. You kind of make sure that everyone's homework assignments get turned in.
Yeah. You have to know everything that goes on behind the scenes that the crew doesn't know, but you also have to know what your crew needs, and you have to bridge that gap. And so, especially for inexperienced producers, if it's something you want to get into, the best thing to do is be friends with experienced crew and work with them and talk to them about what they specifically need, right?
Because what the project needs and what the crew needs.
Yeah, because a lot of the times they will tell you they need, hey, I need insurance, I need rented equipment, I need all these certain little things you might not think about, but once they say it, you're like, oh, that's just a normal part of each project now.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just figure it out from there. And each project you learn, you pick up a little more.
Hannah, how did you build your base of people?
In college, I did business school and film school. We've talked about a little bit. And I was getting into the film program, and I wanted to do it efficiently because I had already been in school for a while. I realized if I took the producing classes, I could also use that towards my business major. So I started doing producing classes, and I just started making friends with people in the film department. And one of my good friends, filmmaker, director, Shindea Caldwell, who is now actually studying at USC in the master's film program there. She needed to do her thesis film, and she just texted me out of the blue one day, hey, did you do that producing class? I would love your help with this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, shit, because I had not done a thing at all. And she was just a good friend that had a lot of faith in me and trusted me. And she had some experience in the industry, and she knew a lot of crew. What she really needed was support and me to handle just like a few smaller, I wouldn't say smaller, like insurance and just a few things.
Logistical stuff.
Yeah, logistical. That she was like, I can't think about another thing. Because she did a lot.
She was doing all the creative for it.
She was doing all the creative. She did do a lot of producing as well. However, she was just like, I need you to fill in the gaps. And so that's what I did. And
making sure everything's covered.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, okay, you did all of this. Well, what about X, Y, and Z? Let me finish that out for you. And she had this amazing crew that did it all for free that she's met through her PA work. We're all working professionals in the Bay Area film scene. Mm-hmm. So really great people who all had connections to rental houses that gave us some free stuff or at least discounted. And then I found a rental house that gave away a ton of free basic equipment to students. And so we used all of that. We just pulled a lot of those strings, and it's amazing when you're a student because you can get a lot of shit for free. So even if you have to go back to school, take one like film class and then just pull that student card as much as you can. But it was really cool because it ended up being a fairly large project. And I had to do a lot of random things myself. I had to run sound remotely at 2 different places, and I don't have sound experience, and it came out great. It was totally fine. And she had to do like directing over Zoom for that.
Was this during the pandemic?
It was during the pandemic, and the film had elements of the pandemic to it. So we would do these like Zoom scenes, but we needed good audio. Our picture was fine, but it was the audio we were really worried about. And so I would go to these people's houses all around Oakland and make sure we got good audio, hang out with them, come back to set.
Wow. Yeah. So just even based on that, the role of a producer can vastly, you really had your hand in a lot, especially something that's lower budget and just starting out.
Yeah. I think the budget was around like $8,000 for that one, which is a lot for a student film. She personally just wanted certain things that she was okay spending the money for. That's something you have to decide too, because it is a beautiful film and there's a lot of cool things that we got to do because of it. And so it's that give and take, right? Like, is this going to be helpful for the story?
And as a producer, that's a conversation to have with the creatives too, like the director and the writer. It's what are you willing to compromise? What is your budget, first of all? Even before that, something that we just did recently was we looked at the script, we broke it down, we broke down the locations, the characters, how much this would cost. And then we had a number in our minds before we went to the director writer and said, this, to do it properly, this is how much it's going to take. Mm-hmm. And then she came to us with, okay, I think, the 10,000 is okay for like a ballpark for me. Mm-hmm. I really don't want to go over that. And then it's within our budget. I mean, our duty to scale back to make sure that we don't go over that.
Yeah. And that's definitely small scale stuff. Like, I find that's the best way to do it. Just be like, hey, realistically, if this is what you want, it's going to be this amount of money. And it's usually a lot more than people expect. But a lot of the times there's tons of ways to be resourceful and do it on the cheap. And that's the thing with producing is finding resourceful ways that kind of like don't go over your crew or the story or the cast. And I think that's a big thing to remember, because you can do super guerrilla filmmaking for anything and
still pay your people.
Yeah.
And still appreciate that. Like when you've used him now. I've used him. We've used his rental equipment, but basically when I produced my first short film, it was mainly for the purposes of doing my reel. I needed more reel footage. So did another actor friend of mine. A director friend directed it, and we had a writer who wrote it for us. And so that was all like free labor on our part. And one of my friends knew of someone who was letting women and people of color rent his equipment for free for that whole calendar year. So we rented it for free. I picked it up, I dropped it off. And then, just for this more recent project, we reached out to him again. And I was like, I know it's with outside this calendar year. Is this something you're still willing to do? And he said, yes. Mm-hmm. Definitely saving those contacts and, calling upon people when the opportunity is given to you.
Yeah. And it's funny because this guy, now my friend that I produced this film with, this short film, she now lives down here, and she reached out to me and she's like, hey, I need cheap equipment super fast. I'm producing something and I'm like losing my mind. Like, what can I do? And I referred that guy, and she like same day got all she needed. There's a lot of people doing this, and a lot of nice people, surprisingly. And so they get it. They get where you're at. They understand that like everything's expensive and it's not easy starting out, especially. And so you can find those people and you can find those resources that do want to help you out. You just got to get a little creative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think something important that Jessica, you hinted on, or you said earlier in this episode, was being a people person. And I feel like that is a big part of, why I love working with you, Hannah, because I feel like you pick up those areas that I drop. I feel like I'm a nice person to work with, but I've also been told that I'm very assertive, and sometimes people are scared of me. I don't know. I don't see it.
Funny. I don't see it. I see you get like focused and assertive, but like I never see you
bitchy.
And
that's my worst fear.
Like, oh God, like give Monique her space.
Ooh, should we drop this conversation now in that women as a producing role?
Oh yeah, let's drop it now. Well, we were talking about this while we were prepping this episode. I said, and I think we were talking about just us being producers in general. I said it's my, worst fear to be. Oh, Monique is a bitch, or I was nervous about producing because I don't
want to come off that way.
I don't want to come off that way. I don't want to be unhappy on set. I don't want to make other people unhappy. And Jessica, you just flat out told me that this wouldn't be a conversation if we were males.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
but that's like, that's just society. And that's what I'm saying. I feel like who I've like worked with, they kind of, it's not a conversation. Like they kind of understand, like, it's like, if that's not like, I don't know, it's not something that you have to worry about.
You're just, the stereotypical image of like a meek female in the workplace is not,
people
it's not it.
And producers, your job is to get
shit done. Yeah.
And so like, if you're not going to get it, there's like, you have to do it in like a kind way and like make sure people feel good, but like at the same time you can't be rolled over.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
sure.
Otherwise it won't get done.
And it's a very fine line, because leadership in general, because it's like you can have a really shitty male leader and just be like, oh, he's a dick. However, there is more leniency there, right? Over the years, they get a lot more like, oh, well, like, the boys are like, hey, what's up? It's fine. Like, well, like there's a lot more forgiveness. Mm-hmm. However, it is always the fine line of like knowing when you need to kind of like lay down the law, but you don't have to come at it from like a super, this is for everyone.
Yeah.
Like a super intense place, and that helps with respect and that helps with morale.
Just being straightforward instead of dancing around it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And it takes a long time to kind of navigate your own leadership style and what works. And I think something to remember is like tone is very important. And if you just take a second, like if inside you are like to the brink, you are stressed out, just taking a second before you say something and then saying it, like it goes such a long way, because a lot of the times you communicate better. You just say what you need to say better, and then there's less tension.
And I think you said like you were talking about knowing yourself and knowing your strengths and weaknesses and realizing how you come off. I think when you have producing partners like what we've communicated that something I really appreciate about you is being that people person. It sometimes gives me anxiety to handle some of the personality stuff, and you just excel with that, Hannah. Yeah. Whereas we talked about before about if there's a problem with an invoice and we need to call a company, that is my threshold.
No, it's great. It is kind of good cop, bad cop, but you are so good at like negotiating and being like, hey, but here it says, like putting that back in someone's face. And sometimes I'll be like,
per your contract.
I'll be like, oh, okay, sure. Like, I'll pretend.
I'm like, no, don't back down.
I know. And then Monique's like, shut up, there's not. And then grabs the phone. But that is the thing, like knowing yourself. And that's a huge reason why, like, I produced one of my biggest shoots, and I had just met Monique, and I immediately asked her to be a producer with me because I knew everything she had experience with, I didn't, and her strengths your strengths are my weaknesses.
And vice versa, and because so on that shoot,
everything.
Yeah, because on that shoot, I'd worked with Seed and Spark before, which was our main fundraiser, but then you, with your business background, put together this amazing pitch to a brewery who donated alcohol to the shoot.
God bless them. Crooked Lane Brewery, thank you so much.
Right, but just from a marketing aspect, the pitch that you put together for them was incredible. And just you getting on the phone with them and, schmoozing with them and talking with them, that, again, things that you excel at, that I was so grateful to have a producing partner.
Yeah.
And I think in the beginning, I've done a couple I produced a couple short films on my own as the sole producer. And personally, even as an individual who hated group projects in school, I love having producing partners. I love having you both. It's not as daunting. I highly recommend it because then you're not keeping 5 burners hot on your own. You're keeping like 2 of them hot, and then I can trust Hannah and Jessica to keep the other ones going.
Yeah.
And just touch base with you. Yeah. And I will say, segueing into like a bigger project that I produced right before the pandemic, maybe it was during the pandemic. It was 2020. Maybe we shot it I think we shot it in 2020 when things reopened. We shot it in October, but we were doing this Seed and Spark crowdfunding campaign all of 2020, and the budget was $25,000. We raised $26,000, and for that project, we had 6 producers. And I will say that was too much because
that's a lot.
We were getting on weekly calls.
How long was the script for that?
Gosh, like 10 pages.
That's too many producers.
For such a small. But the thing is, we rented bathroom trailers. We rented process trailers. The cast was only 2 people, but the cast and the crew were smaller, but the equipment that we needed was so big. And I mean, let's be real. The main reason we got brought on as producers is because they needed help crowdfunding and they wanted to expand their reach, which I get.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't anticipate the producers wanting as big of a hand in it as we turned out, because, once the crowdfunding was done, they're like, okay, we raised the money. Thanks. And we're like, well, no, we put our names on this. So like, let's make sure we are hiring the people that we say we're going to hire. Let's make sure that this set is run properly and safely. And so
essentially they hired you to be executives, and then you were like, well, wait, but
we said we're producers.
We need to,
and executive producers do have creative say because they're the ones bringing in the funds.
Yes, fronting the money.
And the money. And so there were disagreements there. And it was just, even if we were all kind of new producers.
Mhm.
I'd produced a couple short films. Some of the other people have produced none, and some have produced a couple like I had as well, and had been on bigger sets. And the experience ranged, which was cool for everyone because we kind of learned from each other,
Mhm.
but also huge mistakes were made. And most of us had never worked with each other before. It's like, oh, I know Monique. She's reliable. Let's get her on. Oh, I know this person. She's reliable. Let's get her on. But none of us had ever worked together before. So finding your people, trusting your people, being consistent and being open with the finances is something I learned huge on that project. Where's the money going? Oh yeah, no, don't worry. The director, writer, has handled where the money is going. Okay, well, we run out of money, but why? Because we created the budget and the budget is working. So what went out of budget that we didn't have access to? But it is a learning curve, and it sucks because it's a learning curve that you feel like you don't have to learn. It's like, why in my journey in this lesson did I need to go through this? Did I need to work with this person to learn this lesson? I know that I should work with good people, and I thought that this was what it was. I'm not saying they're not good people, but working with you two and really finding my people is totally different. And any advice that I would say to people starting out is it's okay. You're going to hit some bumps along the road. You're going to meet some people and work with some people that you're not going to work with again, and it is a part of the process, and it's okay. But once you find your Jessicas and Hannahs, it is, it is gold, baby.
Network vertically.
There we go. Yes.
Wait, right?
No,
Horizontally.
that's upward.
Oh, horizontally. Sorry.
Wait, what? I'm confused.
No, horizontally.
Wouldn't it be
with your peers? Network with your peers.
Yeah.
I said it wrong.
Oh, but also vertically, because I feel like I networked vertically with you guys. I feel like you guys are above the level that I was working with.
Well,
is that how it goes?
That's so nice. Like, that's not.
No, you definitely are vertical.
Speaking of meeting your people, the three of us met on we first worked together on Chapters, I think, which was a huge producing success. It's already won a few awards.
Including Best Producing.
Yes, we won it.
What's
That being said, with those accolades and just my opinion I was the lead actor in that short film, and I felt, especially for something that was smaller budget, I felt so taken care of as an actor by you as a producer, Hannah. And there was a lot going on with that production, even though it was, a cast of 3 people. We shot it at your place, Jess. Tell us a little bit about you producing that project and what you needed and what you went through.
So that was my second project. So it was just a couple weeks after Shendaya texted me about producing her project. You texted me about producing yours.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is going on? But it was great. And on Kiana, I learned a lot of the rental stuff. I learned COVID, I learned insurance, and I learned how much downtime a producer has on set, specifically.
Not during any other time.
Not
It's like chaos any other time.
any other time. But when the crew is working, you can kind of chill a little bit. And then,
unless the worst comes to
unless you have
If
to
your
use
job-
the insurance.
Yeah, if everything worked out, then your job on the day should be fine.
You should be fine. The most stressed out I lost my laptop in a hammock that day on your shoot on Chapters. No, but then on Chapters we wanted Monique, and she's SAG.
Ugh,
And it's awful.
I really put a pin in it.
But I was still a student, so we got to do that route again, and I had to learn the whole SAG system, and that really hi Henry.
We do have a guest today.
We do have a guest today.
It's little Henry.
Baby.
That's my baby.
He stared at me and threw his pacifier.
I said it's my turn to speak,
It was like,
ladies.
go get it. But I had to learn the whole SAG system, which was so daunting to me. It wasn't as hard as
They're so nice when you call
They're
them.
so nice. The paperwork is not as hard as it seems. I just read every single detail and was freaking out.
Because it was still COVID protocols.
It was still COVID
Which was
protocols.
and the new things, and so we had to do COVID protocols for the production that I was just talking about earlier. And it's, yes, yes, you have to do masks and stuff, but you also have to outline like the ingress egress of set. Excuse me. Basically how people are getting in, getting out, how many people are using what bathroom.
That alone, the COVID part was so stressful to me, just trying to figure out how we can do certain things. And I remember the air filtration system was a whole issue.
Yeah. Well, and this was pre-vaccines, so it was really heavy and very scary still as well. Like, people were properly, like, the news of everyone dying, it was, like, still there. It was, like...
And so,
and I was pregnant, and you guys didn't know it yet. And I didn't tell you.
Monique was pregnant
with Henry.
You had an intense scene one day, and I knew you were getting into character, but I gave you fruit snacks, and you almost started crying, and I was like, "Oh, wow!"
I was so nauseous,
but no, she was pregnant.
So you killed it, producing wise.
Yeah, we also needed an intimacy coordinator with like some fight choreography.
Yes.
And then we had some personalities on set as well that like needed some like issues going down.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah, which is like it was such a small thing.
But I will say
that happened.
As an actor on that set, I was unaware of that.
Mm-hmm. And that's good because we were so unfortunately like consumed by that and by certain things that I was just like, I really hope this isn't bringing everyone down. And it didn't.
I had no idea.
It didn't seem to be.
No.
But it was so draining to us that we were like.
But yeah, it was pretty, it was crazy. But yeah, one thing that was like really, because I wrote and directed that. So while I kind of like, when it's such small projects, I like also kind of produce it, but I didn't put my name on it as producing.
But you did,
like,
you did producing work for sure.
You did.
Yeah, but really with Hannah being the sole on-set producer at the time, you were like, what I always really liked, because I did catch you kind of like doing it while crew's kind of figuring things out, is you were like checking in with everyone, like literally just on everyone's well-being.
Yes.
And that's also very important, especially because that was a project that people were coming out, like from, we had people from SF coming, people from San Diego, other people in the
traveling during a pandemic. We had, like you said, intimacy in this short. We had weapons in this short.
Okay, exactly. And a small space, like an apartment.
Well, that's such a big thing that people need to remember if they're doing something small and like no one's getting paid. Just treat them well. Mm-hmm. Treat them well. Feed them well. Like
lunch was bomb both days.
Yeah, lunch was super good. Yeah. Like just make sure you can provide at least that so they will work with you again or they'll hire you.
Yeah.
Right? Like actually care. And the rough part is like the higher you get up, it's going to be more focused on client work and making sure that the clients are okay. And so I see a lot of producers getting pulled to do that. But then there are a lot of people in between that can help with crew, like production managers and whatnot.
Yeah. Also, like as on these smaller things, you also work as like a production manager where you're also coordinating the food and helping with the craft fee. And, we had one PA to like just do those runs. So that way you didn't have to like leave set in case of things. And, you're also helping in with load-ins and load-outs and location stuff. We had that location situation where like my apartment managers and you like handled that, which was amazing. They're like, who are you?
Yeah, that was really funny, actually.
Yeah.
There was a moment where they were doing like tree trimming across or like something random like that across the courtyard, but we could totally hear it. And you guys were like,
that I remember.
What do we do? And I just like quickly left and I grabbed some crafty and I found the guys. And I was like, if you guys stop for 5 minutes, please, God, we just need like 5 minutes. And I gave them a candy bar and some water. And I came back and I was like, you guys have 5 minutes. Fucking get the shot. And they stopped and you got the shot. It was fine.
It was lovely.
Again, Hannah, the people person.
Yeah. I was just like, hey guys.
Yeah.
But what else about producing the first? Like, so this is, we've said, smaller budgets, our first couple times producing things.
Here's the thing. I think with producing your first few projects, most of your legwork is going to be doing stuff and planning before production happens. So on the day, it hopefully, as long as you've planned as much as you possibly can, it all runs smoothly because on the day, your job is to, in case basically shit hits the fan, you're like there to like try and like fix as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
So that means like you should have thought of like where you're gonna eat, make sure emails are being sent out that need to be sent out. You have insurance that you need to get. You have equipment that's been picked up.
And the first project you produce is probably going to be something that you're passionate about, something that you or a friend wrote, something that
passion projects.
or something that you want to be in. And then kind of like Hannah said, which would happen to me as well, once you produce your first project and you tell people that you produced a short film or a feature or a proof of concept and you show them, it starts to snowball. The year that like I got cast in Chapters with You, I was asked by 3 different productions to help produce their short and run their crowdfunding campaign.
Yeah, we
off of just
people down.
And since then they've approached us now with our production company. Mm-hmm. So once people find out that you know how to do the thing, they will reach out to you, which is great, which is where you want to be. And then you get to choose what projects align with what you want to do.
Yeah, I think above all else, it's just making sure people are comfortable and making sure things are getting done, and planning. Also, don't be shady if you need insurance.
Don't be shady about anything. There are too many shady producers in this industry.
And especially if you start out being shady, people will not want to work with you. They won't trust you. Because these are projects that are like our passion projects, and people are putting their like heart and soul into it. And if you're shady in it and that shadiness like fucks with the project, then
you might be able to climb a ways doing that, but some shit's gonna hit the fan.
Yeah.
And it's not. Like, look at all the big, giant producers that have been brought down by, like, let's just say Me Too. There's a ton of different things that happen in the industry, but that specifically, like, those are people that everyone thought would never be brought down, right?
Yeah.
And so just be a good person.
Yep. Get your insurance, get your permits, get your food.
Don't touch people inappropriately. You're good to go.
Yeah.
Well, and that's important to say because we've talked about, from the beginning of this episode, we've said, this is low budget. We're using our friend's place, blah, 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 which will probably be your first project. But as a production company, we are very much aligned with respecting people, paying them. So just having all those, I don't know, I think that's important to say because even though we've done stuff for low or no budget, we are still very much, in the business of respecting people and paying them as much as we can when we can.
It's all connections, being a team player, and clear communication.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like having a relationship. Right?
And the SAG office isn't scary. Just a plug for SAG project. Even though it's low budget, you just get someone who's in school and it could be a student project and it could be so cheap.
Yeah, no, it's really not scary. It just seems scary.
Yeah, because SAG people, like, they have, union actors have training. We want the work, and a lot of people try and do it for non-union. But, if you call the SAG office, they are on your side. They want you to make union projects.
SAG, please sponsor us.
Yeah. SAG, please sponsor us. That's the thing with all the unions. They're not scary. They will work with you. You just have to figure out the guidelines and just go from there. Mm-hmm. And that's just play the game.
Any last minute thoughts before we wrap up the episode on producing your first project?
I'm just so grateful that I met you both because producing with you I've always wanted to, in the past, I think 4 years, the goal was always to start a production company. And I would ask people here and there, I want to do this. Do you want to do this? Yeah, sure. And then it didn't really come to fruition or things didn't work out. And so you two came to me and said, we're going to start a production company. Do you want to be a third of it?
Yeah.
And that, in that moment, it was just a total dream come true. So literally, yes,
we're excited.
So literally, when you find your people, shit's gonna click. Mm-hmm. Yeah, shit's gonna click, and you gotta
wait it out. Some crappy people to find the right one.
Unfortunately,
like trying on shoes.
I have loved all the projects I've been on. but I haven't loved all the people I've worked with. And that
And
happens.
I think
You
every
have to do it.
project
You have
is
to.
a learning curve, and that's the whole thing. Because, like we said, like at the very beginning, the whole top thing, every project's different. It requires different skill sets, different things, and just learning what those things are is a big thing.
Thank you for closing us out on that. That was beautiful. Poetic.
I'm a poet.
And she's the writer, which is shocking.
And so if you're listening to this podcast episode, just good luck on you're listening to this because you're interested in producing or you just want to know more about it. And good luck on your next project. There you go. And we're out. This episode was so fun to record as we all love to produce together. Since there is so much that goes into producing, we've put together some mini episodes and documents to help you produce your first projects. So join us over at patreon.com/oldgirlsentertainment to connect with us and be in the know for what we have coming down the pipeline.